All right, so today we're diving into something pretty wild.
Wild how?
But we're looking at this YouTube video where someone tries to get to the top of a mountain.
Okay, in GTA 5.
Yeah, in GTA 5, but get this, on a bike.
All right, I'm listening.
But they're only using voice commands to control it.
Oh, wow. That's going to be interesting to watch.
Yeah, you think that's tough. Wait till you hear the commands.
Lead on me.
So they start with Mountain Dew for accelerating and carbs for braking.
Okay, so right off the bat, we've got the humor.
It's pretty ridiculous, right?
Yeah, and I mean, it makes you think, like, why those words? Was it random, or is there something more to it?
Well, as it goes on and the challenge gets harder, the commands get even more out there.
Oh, really? Like what?
Like they have to shorten carbs to just crabs for more control.
Wow, so they're already optimizing.
Yeah, and then they add Baja Blast
Huh.
and Diet Baja Blast for like smaller speed boosts.
So this is where it gets interesting, right? They're not just finding words that work. They're actually tweaking the language, like creating a whole new system for this bike.
And using like the language of snack foods.
Pretty much, yeah. It's wild.
And we haven't even talked about the mountain itself.
Oh, yeah. What's it like?
It's brutal, like sharp turns, steep drops, the kind of stuff that would make even a pro GTA player nervous.
I can only imagine.
But here's what's cool, like this ridiculous setup, it kind of mirrors real life problems, you know?
Oh, yeah, totally. I mean, think about it. We're always adjusting to new situations, finding ways around things, and trying to improve how we do things.
Exactly. And the player in the video is doing the same thing, just with a way more unusual control scheme.
For sure.
And some of their struggles are so relatable. Like there's this part where they need to make a sharp turn, but the Doritos command for turning is just way too long.
Oof. Yeah, I've been there.
Like we've all had that moment when our solution just isn't quite working, you know?
Absolutely. You hit the nail on the head with that one.
So it'll be fun to see how they adapt to that.
Definitely can't wait to dive deeper. Yeah, it's like that saying, if all you have is a hammer, everything looks like a nail.
Right.
They've only got these voice commands, but that actually makes them get creative.
Yeah, for sure. And it's not even just finding workarounds. It's like refining them too.
Exactly.
So like they start with Doritos for turning, but that's too slow for the tight turns.
Makes sense.
So they have to come up with shorter versions like door slide OHS and door righties.
It's amazing. They're basically hacking the game with language.
I know, right?
And it makes you wonder, like, does the language we use affect how well we solve problems?
Oh, that's a good question.
Yeah, like, could being more specific with our words help us think more clearly in other parts of life?
It's possible. I mean, there's a whole field of study on how language shapes our thoughts.
Right.
So maybe limiting yourself to certain words forces you to be more precise, more intentional.
Yeah, I see what you mean.
Kind of like how writing a haiku changes how you think about poetry.
Yeah, or learning a new language can give you a whole new view of the world.
Exactly. And then there's the whole carbs to crabs thing.
Oh, yeah. What about that?
Well, they needed to break faster, so they literally just shortened the word.
Uh-huh. That's brilliant.
It's hilarious. But it also shows how they're making language more efficient.
Totally. Like they're turning limitations into creative chances.
And you know what else is interesting? This whole keto theme with the commands.
It's like a Mountain Dew Doritos Baja Blast.
It's like they're taking something that feels restrictive like a diet and making it into a game.
Huh. Yeah, that's a really cool point.
Like they're saying, keto might be tough, but what if we make it a ridiculous video game challenge?
And suddenly it doesn't seem so bad.
Exactly.
It makes you think, are there other ways to use humor and playfulness to face challenges we normally find tough?
Definitely. And speaking of tough, there's this moment where they realize hitting the gas with Mountain Dew all the time is slowing them down.
Oh, wow. So their initial strategy backfired.
Big time. And it shows how sometimes what we think is right can actually hold us back.
Yeah, for sure.
So they had to completely rethink how they accelerate, which is how they came up with Baja Blast for quick bursts of speed.
Interesting. So they had to adapt.
Yep, and it worked. After hours of struggling, they finally reached the top of the mountain.
That's awesome.
6 hours of shouting food names at a video game. I mean, most people would have given up way before that.
Yeah, but that's what's so inspiring. They were persistent, they adapted, and they kept their sense of humor.
Totally. But hold on. The story's not over yet.
Oh, there's more.
Remember, they still have to get back down the mountain.
Oh, right.
And trust me, going downhill is a whole other challenge, especially when your only brake is yelling carbs as loud as you can. So yeah, speeding downhill while yelling carbs to brake, not exactly a recipe for success.
Yeah, I can imagine that's a tough one.
I mean, you can picture it, right? Just total chaos.
Oh, yeah, for sure. It's like what worked going up is now working against them going down.
Exactly. It's
Yeah.
a whole new challenge.
Definitely. They really have to think on their feet, or I guess their vocal cords in this case. Right, so they're flying down this mountain, trying not to go off the edge with every turn.
And those tight turns got to be a nightmare.
Forget about it. Door righties just doesn't work when you're basically in free fall.
It shows you have to keep adapting, right? What gets you through one part of a problem might not work for the next.
Totally. And sometimes you have to start over even when you think you figured it out.
Exactly. So what they do, did they come up with something new?
Oh, they came up with even more words.
No way. What were they this time?
Okay, so this time it's doo-doo for those tiny bursts of speed they need in the curves.
You do.
Huh. Interesting choice.
Yeah. And then deft turn for, well, you guessed it, deft turns.
Wow. It's like they're creating a whole new language as they go, and under pressure, too.
I know. It's incredible. It's like watching evolution happen, but with food words instead of genes.
That's a great analogy, and they actually make it down in one piece.
They do somehow bruised and battered, but they made it.
That's wild. 6 hours of pure voice-controlled madness.
Pure madness? But there's something more to it, don't you think?
Oh, absolutely. It shows you how resilient people can be.
Exactly. They didn't give up. They kept trying new things. They kept adapting. They found a way forward, even when it seemed impossible.
Couldn't have said it better myself.
So what does this all mean for us regular folks who aren't climbing virtual mountains with our voices? What's the takeaway?
That's a good question. I think it reminds us that we can do more than we think we can.
Yeah, we all have that creativity inside us, that ability to adapt and overcome problems, even when they seem crazy.
And maybe it's also a reminder to not be so serious all the time.
Right. And sometimes the best way to solve a problem is to just be playful, have fun with it, and laugh at how ridiculous it is.
Totally, because if this guy can climb a mountain in a video game using Mountain Dew and carbs as controls...
Then just imagine what we could all do with a little creativity and a good sense of humor.
Exactly. It's pretty inspiring.
So next time you're facing your own mountain, whatever it may be, remember this guy.
Remember his crazy voice commands his never-give-up attitude and his belief in the power of Diet Baja Blast?
Because maybe, just maybe, it'll give you that push you need to find your own creative solution and have a good laugh while doing it.
Couldn't agree more.
Thanks for joining us on this deep dive, everyone. We'll catch you next time.